Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor. Welcome to video number 208, the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Alright. I've basically reached the point where I'm done pointing her face. Her head's still a little large, but now I've got to go through and start axing it down to get to the bottom of all the points, okay, to clear them off so they're done. She still looks wonky with the light on, where it exaggerates the shadows and stuff. Turn the light off, she looks a lot better. If you put a caliper on my head, you know, the length of my face, same as hers, you know, pretty much almost exactly. Hers is just a little bit smaller than mine. And I'm a couple inches taller than she is. So by the time we shrink this, it should be pretty good. I'm going to work on keeping this very well intact. And then as her head tightens up, try not to undercut her hair, then I can have her hair agree with her face and her head as well as possible, so her hair isn't all out here magically supported with a big void in it. And as I shrink her head, I'm going to start developing where her shoulders are. I'll work on her collar to understand her sternum and where her shoulders need to be. And that can help me dictate the hair as this is smoothed off and rounded off, and should make her look a lot better. So direct carving, you just do it. I mean, it's the whole idea of how you magically make something look the way it looks. And I can only tell you about so much. It's a lot like, you know, Gary handed me the hand machine and chisel, says, show me, prove it, cut it. And so I can't give you a big explanation of all of the fine details of one muscle over the other, because I'm on the job trained really to cover that, and I tried to learn it, but I do understand. I tried to stay up on this side, but I still have less volume here, as I've been warning you about undercutting, you know, on the upper mandible. So I got to make sure that I balance this side and lower this a little bit to help bring that up and bring this together, you know, in a cohesive, in a coherent manner. It's got to all work together. And I'm going to try to overcome the left to right disparity that I saw on the clay. And as I get her smoothed up and tightened up, I'll try to leave volume here and here. Not as much to make a jowl, but to have the fullness of her cheeks, so that she has full cheeks, because if her mouth is pursed, you know, come together some, she's going to tend to have, you know, a flex in her cheeks as opposed to a scowl that pulls her cheek muscles back. Okay, we don't want that. We want more volume forward. So by having a plump face where she's looked like she's got a nice face, I'll slowly get points to work off here, and I'm basically just going to scrape it. Okay, so there isn't a lot to show you. I'll try to show you what I can. It's hard to get the camera in place and light and such, and really show you. So this is where it starts getting pretty serious. You know, we've got all this preliminary work to get her together, but as I get her head, as it shrinks, I can start reducing volume through her body to make her look more appropriate all the way through it. And but you want to make sure not to dig out too much back here, hollow out and carve off the jawbones, because a lot of people do. I mean, that's something I had to learn. You know, I still struggle with that. That's hard to do. You have to leave enough for the corner of the jawline, because that's going to be proud of your cheeks. And so we don't want to dig too much of that away, but we gotta make her smaller. So I'm going to work on clearing off these points and see if I get a little video, and we'll be back in a while. So check this out. A lot of this will be done with a scraper and a curve scraper, just to be able to stay on top of and not dig, okay? This is a little close, but maybe this will show you what I'm doing. You see some of the tool marks too. All right, let's see how this looks in the natural light. Looks pretty good. I've got her head scaled down quite a bit. Her eyes are really big. Her mouth is really big. Let's see how this looks in the light. It's hard to tell the best way to light this so y'all can see it. She's got a really thick, flat nose. It's going to narrow up, skinny up. The eyes have to come off, you know, over here and here. And this mouth is going to change a lot. And as this narrows, I'm going to take these corners off. And these, you have to see if the light will just sit here. I don't know if it'll show enough. When you cut these details, and this shows some of the, you know, I still got a couple little points got to clean up. And this shows some of the tissue related. This is where you get into the benefits of not surrendering volume, because you can have a really nice tissue structures here at your tear ducts, corners of your eyes. As you work this back, you have some volume. If you just cut this up and cut that out, it can be very, I don't know, traditional, but it loses some, it becomes more genre and less lifelike. And I'd like her to look a little more lifelike. I still have to smooth her face. As I cut this, to have that turn of the flesh from the corner of her mouth to that lip, by having this material there, that produces a lot better, a lot more natural looking mouth. I've got balance pretty well between here and here. This is supposed to be the corner now, so this is still supposed to sink, which will bring this out, and as I thin her nose up. But right now, her head is like, her face is like pretty ideal in terms of the size of my hand, and I don't want it to be a whole lot smaller. As we cut these down, it will widen her face, because right now it's looking a little narrow. But I've still got to fix this and deal with all the intersections of her hair. But for the most part, right now, her head is close to what it needs to be, and so I can start working on tuning up the rest of her body so that she's properly scaled, so everything looks right. And but this is, I don't want to thin her nose up yet, because it's fragile. I don't want to cut her lips yet, because again, I don't want to bump it with something. I still got to work on her hair, and as I do that and finish her hair to her head, I can contour around her face and really tighten it up, get her neck, get everything right. But now I'm going to work on, start working on her shoulder, chest, and I may point a little bit more on her hair before I get rid of the points, but I'm almost to the end of using the foundation points. I hate cutting those things off. They'll probably stay for quite a while, but I'm going to start ignoring where they are in terms of on this model, because I got to marry it with this one. So I can start working on her body, to her abdomen, waist, to her groin, and then her leg. And her legs flows pretty well, so I've got to tighten up her abdomen and groin, and then up to her chest to get all of this tied up. All right. Cool. Back to work. All right, I've been doing some more work, just basic stock removal around her hair, lowering her hair, trying to working to even up her chest so that her chest is the same height. And you can see how far back I pushed that, at least half an inch on a bunch of this right here. See how far so that point's still there, and then I'll cut that off. But this is why it's important to be patient. I don't know, see how much her arm was not great as far as volume. We picked up half an inch, and we'll pick up even more when we take this off. That's going to really bring that arm and give it a lot more volume. Been working the elbow down a little bit, because her forearm obviously would go here, so her elbow actual joint is going to be down in here. And so this has to represent where that joint is. And by lowering this, it makes her hand stand up more. I don't want to do a lot with her hand until I do her fingers. You got to do this in order. And you've got to really learn to resist. You're going to get to a point like this, and you're going to say, I can do something. You're going to walk in, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put a chisel right on her face. Oh, because you see this little thing here, and then here, and then here. And you're going to do that, and all of a sudden, you're going to come in another day, and her head's going to be too small, and you're screwed. You can't get it back. It's a done deal. She's got pretty good composition right now. Her nose is still really big, and that's part of what makes her head look really big. Her eyes are really full out here. Her eyes are a lot bigger than they're going to be. By the time you thin those eyes up and narrow that nose and put nostrils and make it look normal, her face is largely there. My hand on her face is, my hand goes further than it does on my face. If I put my hand like that. My hand on her hand is still larger than her hand. If I can get the camera to point the right place. Her fingers are longer and bigger. She's got pretty good scale for the size she is. Her head still looks big, body's still a little bit big, but it's coming. You just got to be careful, and you got to be patient, and have a plan, because if you just go in and jump on whatever doesn't look right then, it's not going to end. I do want to, let me hang the camera. I've got something else to talk about. When you put stuff out there, you never know who's watching. It might be the IRS or a master sculptor. Okay. One of the masters from Barrie has posted some comments, and you know, first couple things I wasn't really sure. Same name, no, it's not an uncommon name. Didn't know if it was really him, and then it turned out that it really was him. And so the most recent comment, he asked me, because I use 9 points and 4 points, you want to know if I use the crown point? And I'm like, I don't know what that is, man. And he says, well, I'll send you an email. So he did, and I found out it's, you know, it's Jerry, so it's pretty cool. I'll try to put a link up here on the screen to his website. His name's Jerry Williams. He's a master sculptor in Barrie. He's got Barrie Sculpture Studio, and he's got an amazing portfolio. He's really, really, you know, top of the game. He's fantastic, and so, and he does, I don't know how to describe his portfolio. He told me, he says, yeah, I got tired of doing the plain old stuff like this. I want to do different stuff. See, this is really cool stuff. He's where I got into using dental stone for some work, because his son Sean had been, I think they said he was like in Germany or something. He was, I think, doing some work in Europe, and as a student, and he had cast. Jerry did some mounts, you know, like taxidermy type mounts out of granite. Did a lion, and did a boar, and I think a bison, maybe a ram. I think there were 4 of them that were supposed to flank a big fireplace. And one of them, they cast it in dental stone, and he brought it back from wherever he was traveling from, like in a backpack or something, the way he described it to me. And I may be all mixed up, but I'm trying to remember. And it didn't have any loss. It was great. And then because the dental stone is so much stronger in terms of PSI and everything, it costs more to use it, but, I mean, to buy it, but you can use it in a lot thinner cross section. So you've got models that don't weigh 200 pounds or 300 pounds. You can cast it really thin, and it's still rugged. Like my gargoyle is cast out of dental stone, and the background's thin, and it's broken a couple times. One of the cool things about dental stone is that it's strong enough that you can actually glue it, and it sticks together. It's strong enough to resist when the and I use liquid nails for masonry. That's what I found works best with glue and dental stone. When it sizes and it grabs and it shrinks and tightens up and hardens, the dental stone is strong enough that it doesn't just exfoliate off the top like typical plaster or I think even hydrocal. I had some trouble with that. It doesn't glue that well, but the dental stone is strong enough. But anyway, so Jerry says, what about a crown point? And I couldn't figure out. He described a little bit, and so he sent pictures, and so I made one. I took a blank, like this is a brand new 9 point that I just put teeth on, you know, with my little narrow 1/4 inch green wheel. Put teeth on it. I took a blank that was just flat and square on top, and I rounded it on the grinder to make it into a dome, to make it into an even dome all the way around without a flat spot. And then I cut 4 slots into it, and in order to use it, and it's really cool. It's different. I never used one before. And Jerry says, "Oh, we've been using them for years, man." And so, so thank you, Jerry, for showing me that. You know, and this is part of the community, man. I mean, there's only a few of us that actually do this. I'm not talking about artists that make it. I'm talking about those of us that are trained. You know, like, and it's really pretty much it's those of us from Barrie, because that's where it all happens. And then we sort of go out from there if we go out at all. There ain't anybody getting in-depth training, you know, in some other town in America. That's just not what's happening. Barrie's where it's at. And we're old Barrie, whether we're polite or we're rude, nasty, you know, you hear all of it, you know. But it's tough work, it's a tough town, you gotta be able to do it to survive. And, you know, but Jerry didn't have to say anything about that. He could have said, yeah, Button doesn't even know about that. I'll just keep doing it. But he didn't. He shared the knowledge. He shared the information. Somebody showed him, I bet. He doesn't own it any more than I own it. Any more than I own all the stuff we're putting in this series. And so this is about trying to keep this craft alive and moving forward. So, but he said we use the, he's doing a big horse, you know, relief right now. Like I'm probably guessing it's probably almost life size. Looked like it's probably like 3/4 scale. I couldn't really tell the size of the stone, but it's like a draft horse and it's raised. It's really cool. Because big muscular horse as opposed to a long thin racehorse, war horse probably. But he says we use these to develop drapery and to work up and work on muscles. It develops a curved channel very well, as opposed to a 9-point, that if you're trying to create that same curved channel, you got to wash it back and forth and try not to dig with the edges. And so usually when I've done that, I do that with a small, like a 3/8, a smaller 9-point. So I've got enough room to move it in order to create that code. This, you don't have to do it. And so he says they last a long time if you take care of them, use them right. And it looks like it's pretty cool. So set a big thank you out to Jerry for that. And but stone's coming good. I like the way she's developing. She looks really good from down here, and you know, and this is approximately this where my head is right now. You know, just below her waist. You know, I'm looking pretty much at this fold is eye level, and I think if we raise this another foot, and most people standing there, this is going to be approximately eye level here. She's going to be, you know, pretty tall because this is 6. That's 1.5 feet, so that's 7.5 feet at the top of her head. So she's going to be 1.5 feet, 2 foot taller than most people that look at her. And but as I'm reducing volume, she's becoming far less domineering. It's hard to explain to people when they want something in a certain scale how visceral a presence is. When you take something and you go beyond life size or you make it really big, it becomes, there's a natural innate emotion or emotional response or fear response, you know, fight or flight, whatever, that will impact your viewers. And that can be really beneficial to your project, or it can be really detrimental. You know, we don't want it to look like she's going to kick somebody's butt. She's supposed to be an angel that's beautiful and peaceful and serene. And so you can only make her about so big before she becomes intimidating. And as I thin this up, I'm wanting to work on her belt a little bit under her arm to push that sash in, to narrow her up, to tighten up her midsection, to get how narrow she's going to be. I have to be careful with that because I've got to develop this side as well. And I can't develop her side over here towards the die where her hand's going to be until I cut all that. If I just start digging that away arbitrarily, it's not an ideal thing. So I'm probably going to have to work to get her balanced pretty well. I may work the wings back a little bit just to get an approximate surface plane area to where I can see the curvature of the wings. And then I'm gonna have to start opening up over here for her hand and her arm to make sure that they are bang on the money. That's the whole goal for me on this job, is to make her arms fit with this multi-element composition where, you know, she's here and she's got a flower in her hand and it's on a die and everything matches up. You know, all the finishing work and stuff is great. It's a lot of work. It's cool to do. But I want her, boy, I want that arm to be right. Everybody in Barry's going to probably figure it out and know about it. Okay? Because everybody knows. Everybody knows. And we all watch each other. So, but yeah, it's nice to see as you push the chest back to shrink her, that simultaneously makes that arm come out and look bigger. And now it's not the flat, scary arm that it was initially that I was trying to develop and make it work. I also didn't, I don't know if I can really show you. It's really important. Is this on frame? Let's see if this gets. When you're doing something like her cuff, her sleeve, I left this is just all material here. There's nothing cut and specified, okay? Because I anticipated all of this. As I did the drapery, as I pushed her back, as I did the drapery, all that stuff, I knew that I would pick up material. And I didn't want to define this and then have it be in a position that didn't match the rest of it. There's one job I got to do a video of when I finally get there. It's a stone I've known my whole life. My grandfather tutored me on extensively, and it's not a bad job, but the drapery's wonky. Okay, and even as kids in, you know, first grade, second grade, it looked wonky. Okay, and that means that they could have done a better job with it. Okay, so one day I'll get there and do a video and put it out, and see who likes it and who doesn't. But to get the drapery to sit and flow and have nice pendant quality, you know, it's, you just gotta trust the process. You gotta be patient. Okay. Well, I think I can wrap this video up. I think I got enough time on the video so we can put this together and have a nice video. But I don't want to say the scary part's over, because it's not, because it can still go wrong. Okay, a lot of the initial disaster stuff that could have gone wrong hasn't, and that's a good sign. So I think that I think it's going to be a nice stone. All right. But anyways, my name's Clinton Button. I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculpture Studio with the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Thanks for coming in.